Whew! Hello, everybody. This is the Blue Dragon Studios. Welcome to my lair. Man, it's been a long time, man. I want to thank everyone who's been with me so far. Right now, this is like the final chapter of my story before the epilogue, if you can count it as a chapter. Well, I guess without further ado, enjoy what we all been waiting for. Chapter 31. Tails and Scales, The Empty Throne. Chapter 31. The Return of the Alpha King. In the middle of the top stairway of the entrance hall stands Silvus, wearing his royal cape and gloves. In front of him is a pair of large doors waiting to be opened. "Are you ready, your majesty?" a voice calls out from the other side. "Yes, guard, you may open," Silvus confirms with a smile, making the doors open. As they open, he takes a deep breath and begins to march into a familiar sight. Through the doors, Silvus is greeted by a large crowd of noble raptors from all the Betadoms gathered in the gardens of Odyssey, gazing upon him in awe with smiles and cheer. Musical sounds of trumpets can be heard, blowing from a distance. Silvus continues to walk along the path. Each of the royal guards places a spear and kneels to greet their new monarch. Silvus greets them all with a smiling wave. At the same time, he continues to walk down the path into the giant tree where the throne room is. In the throne room, Silvus is greeted by more nobles and guards awaiting him as he crosses closer to the throne itself. In his sight is the stairway where he would climb up to the throne, with Arcus holding a large silver crown, along with the sages awaiting. In front of the stairway are all the Beta lords and ladies, new and old, all wearing their smaller crowns. Vessel Orzim of Magalo, Envar Buck of Manchester, Sidon Tritus of Tricia, Crova Zira of Shirasic, and finally, Davincius Nardo of Creston. He climbs up the steps. Silvus gazes around the crowd to see Eco with Gwynny and the Knights of the Mist rooting for him, while Fee and Key stand around with other kobold nobles, all observing with smiles. Silvus makes a brief stop on the throne platform. He makes one more peek at the audience to see one female he is looking for, Osea herself, standing around with Manchester lords, smiling affectionately at him, happy at what he has become. With a heartwarming smile, Silvus walks up to the throne where he kneels in front of Arcus, who continues to hold the crown. "Do you swear to uphold the values of the spirits?" Arcus begins. "I do." "Do you swear to bear all the responsibilities laid out before you?" "I do." "Then by my right as Archsage, I ignite the ancient rites of the holy blessing of the spirits themselves, and proclaim you Alpha King of Avalonia, voice of the spirits and protector of the raptors of Avalonia." Arcus places the large silver crown with 3 gems upon Silvus' head and moves to the side. Silvus walks up to the throne and sits upon it. Arcus turns around, facing the crowd along with the sages, and shouts, "Raptors of Avalonia, we give you Alpha King Ultimar Silvus!" And the crowd goes wild with cheering as Silvus continues to sit on his new throne, looking up at the ceiling. He would never have thought that he himself would be destined to be a greater power other than Beta Lord. More importantly, in his heart, both his parents will be proud of him. On the following night, a party is being hosted to celebrate the coronation of Silvus. The city of Padalot is filled with decorations. The raptors themselves fill the streets to celebrate the special day like a festival. In the palace, an even bigger party is taking place in the middle of the grand ballroom, with various nobles mingling or dancing to the wonderful music being played from Creston. Silvus, however, is not around. to a certain cousin's annoyance. Silvus is with Osea walking along the gardens of Odyssey instead of at the party. It is a perfect place to get away from the large crowd so they can be together all by themselves. Holding claws, they walk along a stone path in between various flora that glows beautifully at night. They eventually stop by a grand fountain with statues of the 6 heroes placed around. "So, what will you do now?" Silvus asks Osea as they halt in front of the fountain, holding Osea by 2 claws.
I honestly do not know. One thing for sure, I really do not want to be Beta Lady due to what happened to my brother, which is why I let my cousin take the throne instead of me.
Osea turns her head to the side, looking at the fountain flowing lots of water gracefully.
Maybe I will sign up to be a teacher for monastery, unless something comes to mind.
Osea further states, giving Silvus an idea or a chance. He lets go of Osea's claws and kneels on one knee. Osea's expression turns confused about what Silvus is doing, until he takes out a locket belonged to his mother, showing it to her. When he opens it up, she gasps, throwing her claws, covering her lips at the sight of a silver ring.
Isn't that your mother's wedding ring?
Silvus nods and says, "Envar Osea, throughout my journey, you have always been at my side. Since the day we first met, I had this feeling that I was going to want to be with you for the rest of my life. So I ask, Envar Osea, will you marry me as my lawfully wedded Beta Queen?" Osea puts on a face of absolute joy. She looks like she is going to scream at any moment by the way she wiggles her arms. She grabs Silvus into a very tight hug with tears coming out of her eyes and answers,
"Oh, Sylvie, of course I'll marry you."
When Osea breaks off the hug, Silvus feels his heart beating a flutter, with a big happy face forming on his snout. With one claw, he gently grabs Osea's claw and places the silver ring onto one of the taloned fingers. It is a perfect fit. She checks out the ring on her finger with a smile, only to get caught off guard by Silvus, scooping her up into his arms, telling her, "You just made me the happiest male in the world." Silvus happily swings her around a few times, making Osea giggle in even more happiness. The young couple lock their eyes to each other, then slowly lock their lips against their snouts, embracing each other's love for the rest of the night to come. Above them are the various stars above, the night blue sky. Among them, a pair of 2 stars shines greatly, as if the spirits themselves are giving a welcoming sign. As the new Alpha King, Ultimar Silvus focuses his reign and efforts on both restoration and fulfilling old promises once made by his late father, like allowing the Omegas independent autonomy with their businesses without the intense interference from the crown, as long as they don't violate Raptor rights. The Omegas rejoice with cheer, while the nobility at first skeptical, but eventually they see the worth of the Omegas, to the point they are willing to work together as fellow Raptors. By doing so, earns him the title Alpha King Silvus the Wise Fulfiller. Under Sentinel Leon, the royal army is stronger and more unified than ever. Crime is down in the frontier, making the roads safe for merchant caravans and travelers to travel in safe distances. The royal army under Leon is so successful, a lot of young Raptors begin to volunteer to fill their ranks. Luckily, the army has more volunteers than extra-borns. Since the war ended, instead of getting a new Beta Lord right away, the Manchestians, with the help of the Royal Guard and their allies, rebuilt the damages from Bylark's wake. Because Osea is now living with Silvus as Beta Queen, Envar Buck is chosen to be the new Beta Lord of Manchester, with Jem as his bodyguard, just as she once served Targan. Rumor has it that Buck and Jem are getting very close. Vessel Orzine becomes the new Beta Lord of Magalo, with his only son as First Delta. Under his leadership, the Raptors of Magalo rejoiced in the restoration efforts. His wife, Aurea, is picked to be his bodyguard, where they can finally have peace together. Returning to Tricia, Sidon Tritus makes it in time to witness that his wife Sulfi has laid 3 wonderful eggs. With the war over, Tritus can finally settle from his reckless days, so he and Sulfi can watching their hatchlings hatch together as parents. Vessel Eco, for all his efforts, becomes the most respected member of the Knights of the Mist, fulfilling his father's legacy. Eventually, he will be promoted as the new captain after Pendra Gwynny's retirement to live with her husband and her 2 daughters. Today, Vessel Eco is married to Princess Fee Jin with Key's blessing. Surprisingly, Eco and Fee have 8 hatchlings, 7 kobold daughters, and 1 raptor son? Fulfilling his promise, Silvus sends as many troops as he can to Shima, where they aid the kobolds in reclaiming the old claves in the outer roads. Effectively, it saves Shima from impending doom. After restoring Shima, King Key and Alpha King Silvus make new trading deals to allow kobolds and raptors alike to open trade with each other. With the restoration efforts all but complete, Ultimar Silvus can finally be at peace with his wife and Beta Queen, Ultimar Osea, and her 3 wonderful hatchlings, 2 sons and 1 daughter. End of chapter 31. Phew, now that wraps it up for now. I want to thank all my subscribers, friends, and family who continue to follow this dinosaur fantasy adventure. Even though this is supposed to be the final chapter, there is still an epilogue to reveal, and I can't wait to give you all the surprise you all have been waiting for, as an introduction to my sequel of the Tales and Scales series. A sequel that I am very excited to one day publish, so you all can continue to enjoy more dinosaur magical adventures. Please leave a like, a comment, or subscribe to keep tabs for my future content. This is the Blue Dragon Studios. See you next time in my lair.